Do you ever feel like you're just drowning in information sometimes? Like, you need to get a handle on something complex, fast, but you just wish someone could boil it down.
Uh-huh. Tell me about it.
Well, if that's you, you're in the right place today. We're doing a deep dive into Java 11. Now, that might sound a bit technical, maybe intimidating,
Yeah, the name itself.
but it's actually all about making programming simpler, more
That's
accessible.
exactly right. Java 11, it's what's called an LTS version, long-term support, came out September 2018.
And LTS means.
It means it's built to be really stable, supported for years and years, super reliable. Now, usually on the deep dive, we kind of assume some background knowledge,
Right.
but today is a bit different. Our mission is really aimed at you if you're maybe a complete beginner, like zero programming experience.
Okay.
We're going to unpack 5 key features from Java 11 that really make starting out easier
Yep.
and faster, and actually more secure, too.
I think that's great because those first steps into coding, they can feel, well, huge, can't they? We want to show you exactly how these Java 11 updates kind of smooth out that path, remove those common frustrating bits.
Yeah, lower the barrier to entry.
So what are these 5 things? We've got local variable syntax for Lambda parameters,
Sounds fancy, but it's not too bad.
the HTTP client API, single file source code programs, some String API enhancements, and nest-based access control.
It's a good list.
And the theme really is making Java, friendlier for newcomers, more modern too. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
First up, local variable syntax for Lambda parameters. Okay, I admit when I first heard Lambda expressions, I thought, uh-oh, what's this? Can you break that down simply?
Absolutely. Think of lambdas as just really short, concise instructions, little bits of code for small tasks.
Like what?
Like telling the computer, sort this list of names, or when this button gets clicked, do this specific thing. Lambdas are just a quick way to write that down.
Okay, short instructions. Got it.
So what Java 11 did was introduce a simpler way, a more consistent way, really, to define variables inside those little instructions using just one keyword, var. Makes it cleaner.
So it's like tidying up the labels you use inside those quick notes. That does sound helpful. But, I mean, was the old way really that confusing for beginners? Was it a big deal?
You know, it might seem small, but it actually was significant. Before Java 11, lambdas were kind of different. The way you define variables there didn't quite match the rest of Java.
Inconsistency.
Exactly. And that inconsistency, even if small, adds mental load. It's interesting because this change reflects a bigger trend, making languages easier for developers to use, less friction.
Less getting tripped up on weird rules.
Precisely.
Right.
The focus now is much more on clarity, making it obvious what the code does, rather than having some clever but obscure syntax.
I like that. Clarity over cleverness. So for you, the listener starting out, this makes lambdas way less scary. You can focus on the job like sorting names, not the weird formatting rules, like using the same kind of label for all your boxes, garage, or kitchen. Just makes sense.
It really does. It just removes a little bump in the road, helps you focus on the logic, not memorizing exceptions to rules.
Okay, so that helps with writing small tasks inside the program. But Java 11 also looked outwards, right? With the HTTP client API connecting to the internet.
Oh yeah, this one's a big deal. It really opens up possibilities.
What is it exactly?
It's essentially a brand new built-in tool, comes standard with Java 11. Its job is to let your programs talk to websites and online services.
Like a built-in messenger.
That's a great way to put it. It lets your program send out requests like asking a website for its homepage or for some specific data, and then handle the responses that come back.
Okay, because before this, wasn't Java's way of doing this kind of old and clunky?
Yeah, clunky is fair. The older tools were, well, they were designed for a different internet age. They didn't easily support modern stuff like faster connections or the newer security protocols. Often you needed extra libraries.
So why did it take until Java 11? What changed?
Well, the web itself changed dramatically. Modern web applications work differently. They often need to handle many network requests at once without getting blocked, waiting for each one. The old HTTP URL connection wasn't really built for that.
Asynchronous.
Exactly, asynchronous operations.
Yeah.
The new API is designed from the ground up for that. It's much more efficient for how things work today, especially as microservices and things like that. It's just modern.
And for you as a beginner, this is huge, right?
Absolutely game-changing.
It means you can actually build programs that talk to the internet without wrestling with complicated add-ons first.
Right. You can make an app that...
That's really cool. It lets you build useful, real-world stuff much earlier. Very motivating.
Totally. It lowers that barrier to making something exciting.
Okay, next up. Single file source code programs. Now, this one really feels like it's aimed straight at beginners. I remember struggling with
Oh,
this.
definitely. So normally with Java, you have steps, right?
Right.
You write your code in a .java file, then you have to compile it.
Turn it into something the computer understands, bytecode.
Right. That creates a .class file, and then you run the .class file. 3 steps, basically.
A bit of a process just to see, hello world.
Exactly. Java 11 introduced this fantastic feature where, for simple programs that fit in just one file, you could just run the .java file directly.
Whoa.
Yeah. It does the compiling and running in one go, behind the scenes, like scribbling a quick note and reading it instantly. No formal publishing step needed.
That is brilliant because setting up projects, managing class paths, compiling, it's overwhelming when you start. It gets in the way of just learning.
Totally. This feature just cuts through all that for simple cases.
Yeah.
Perfect for trying things out, experimenting quickly. You get that immediate feedback.
How does it actually work? Does it create the class file somewhere hidden?
It essentially compiles the code in memory or a temporary location and then runs it.
Yeah.
You don't see the intermediate .class file unless you specifically ask for it. It just runs.
So for you, the learner, this makes Java way more approachable for those first steps. Write a simple print something program, run it immediately, see it work.
Yep. It's like sketching on a napkin instead of needing a full canvas and frame right away. Focus on the Java language itself, not the ceremony around running it.
Love that. Less friction, faster learning. Okay, what's next? String API enhancements. Dealing with text.
Yes. Super fundamental. Almost every program deals with text, or strings as we call them in programming.
Names, messages, addresses.
All that stuff. So Java 11 added some really handy new tools to the String API, the part of Java for working with text.
What kinds of tools?
Things like easily checking if a string is just empty, or maybe just white space. Stripping, leading, or trailing white space off, super common task. Repeating a string multiple times. Lines methods to easily process multi-line text. Just useful everyday text manipulation stuff.
And why does that matter so much? Weren't there ways to do this before?
There were, but they were often more awkward. You might need multiple steps, or the code wasn't as clear. Remember, clarity over cleverness.
Right.
These new methods are straightforward. They make common text tasks simpler and the code easier to read, which is great because text handling used to be surprisingly fiddly sometimes.
So for you, the beginner, it means working with text is less painful.
Much less. Like cleaning up data someone typed into a form or moving extra spaces at the beginning or end. Now it's just one simple command, checking if they forgot to enter their name. Easy.
That sounds genuinely useful. It lets you build features, maybe like personalized greetings or formatted output, without getting bogged down in complex text wrangling code.
Exactly. You can focus on the feature, not the plumbing needed to handle the text correctly.
Okay, last one on our list. Nest-based access control. This sounds a bit more abstract. Organizing parts of your program.
It is a bit more about structure, yeah. Think about how you organize a program. You often break it down into different parts, different classes.
Like blueprints, a car class, an engine class.
Good analogy. So sometimes you have classes that are very closely related, like maybe an outer class and an inner class nested inside it. They're meant to work together intimately.
Okay.
And sometimes these closely related classes need to access each other's private details, things not meant for the outside world. Before Java 11, the way Java handled this access control between nested classes was, well, a bit weird. It sometimes required the compiler to generate hidden helper methods.
Like needing a secret handshake.
Sort of. It worked, but it wasn't clean. And it could sometimes confuse other tools or even the programmer. Nest-based access control basically formalizes the idea that classes nested within each other are part of a nest and can access each other's private members directly without compiler tricks.
So it's like acknowledging their family and letting them talk directly instead of using a middleman.
That's a perfect way to put it. It simplifies the rules for the compiler and makes the relationship clearer and more natural from the language's point of view.
But for a beginner, what's the actual impact? Is it just cleaner code, or does it prevent real problems?
It's mainly about cleaner code and better understanding. It removes a layer of hidden complexity. While a beginner might not immediately hit the old limitations, this feature means the way Java handles these related classes is more intuitive from the start. You don't learn one slightly awkward way only to realize later there's this underlying mechanism. It makes the mental model simpler.
So it helps you organize your code into logical pieces more easily?
Yes. You can create classes that collaborate closely without fighting confusing access rules. Like in your game example, the player class and maybe an inventory class nested inside it can share private details smoothly.
letting you focus on the game logic, not the access rules.
Exactly. It helps you structure things more intuitively.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. We looked at 5 key Java 11 features.
Yep. Local variable syntax for Lambdas.
Making small tasks simpler.
The HTTP client API.
Connecting your programs to the web easily.
Single file source code programs.
Letting you run simple code instantly. String API enhancements.
Making text handling much less fiddly. And nest-based access control.
Helping you organize related code parts naturally.
And taken together, they really do make Java more approachable, more modern, and just nicer to use, especially when you're starting out.
It feels like they lower the hurdles, remove some of that initial friction.
That's the goal. For you, as a beginner, these features mean you can learn Java with less unnecessary complexity getting in the way. They empower you to build cool, practical things sooner and hopefully with more confidence.
It's really encouraging. So here's something to think about. Given how these seemingly small tweaks in Java 11 really simplified things and opened up new possibilities, what other systems, maybe things you use every day, could be fundamentally transformed if their underlying tech also got that kind of targeted, beginner-friendly upgrade?
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Makes you think.
Something to mull over until our next deep dive.